Well, good morning, good afternoon. Um, it's a beautiful sunny day. I'm up on my neighbor's driveway. There's nobody here. Um, the internet gods are squishy. Can you hear me now? I have no idea. I pushed a few wrong buttons, but I seemingly am on the live chat. 38 seconds, 40 seconds into this. If there's anyone there, tell me if you can hear me. And give me a thumbs up if you can. If you can't talk or can't write anything. And remember, this show is just for your entertainment's sake. Don't believe a word I say. So, I was, truly graceful, right? That's what, how to be happy, colon, be truly graceful, right? And I misspelled graceful, and it said, here, let's show you how to do spell check on live streaming, YouTube, blah blah, and it just put me down a rabbit hole that I had no idea where I was going or what was going on, and I think everyone in the world right now is that we've first we had 4 years of Donald Trump, and before that we had 8 years of Obama and JoJo. And the two of those guys together was worse than in a lot of ways, um, you know, Dick and George, And so before Dick and George, we had Wild Bill, Yahoo! Probably the worst president we ever had because he totally destroyed um, whatever guardrails. What's happening in the Ukraine right now, we can thank Bill Clinton for, right? We can also thank, George H., right? We won't go a single inch into the, no, yeah. And, everyone freaked out when, Ronnie Reagan, who, kind of came into, he was a poster boy for General Electric. He was on GE Theater on NBC, just like Donald Trump was on. Donald Trump. The only thing he had to be exposed as somewhat ready to be president was that he had 10 years of being a game show host called The Apprentice, and he was being apprenticed as a presidential puppet because all he said is "You're fired," right? And there is a oh, what's their name? Um, it's a Terry Gross on Fresh Air had a guy who wrote a book about this law firm. Um, that basically, they were in the same line of reptile um, dysfunction as the queen, and now our Charlie, our king. Now he's king. The monarchy. So this law firm was the monarchy of the corporate entity, and they're the people who represented the cigarette companies and the Satchel family with OxyContin and DuPont and uh, Unicarbide with Agent Orange and you know and so these people are um, go listen to Terry Gross's show, Fresh Air. That was today, right? And that guy really lays it out who these people are and what that legal crew, the guy who became the presidential legal counsel, was on the board of that law firm, and he was in charge. He picked all the people, not just for the Supreme Court that Donnie put in, but the close to 600 appellate court judges. Half of them didn't even have a law degree, but it's Hail Hydra all the way. So, here we have Lizzie kicks the bucket. And I'm sure Charlie was right there, butt fucking her and strangling her. Die, bitch, die! So now he's king. Now, that was a comic representation of a skit, right? And so don't believe a word I say. Um, but get into it, kids. Get into it. You don't have too much time, because here the Ukrainians are pushing, um, you know, kicking the crap out of, the big nasty bear, right? This little teeny, they had like 40,000 guys in their army, and they get attacked by the big bear. Oh, we're also your NATO's like shivering in their boots, and they let 7 million people get out of Dodge, into Poland and Estonia and Latvia and all those NATO countries. And those people, because they're white and they were women and had little kids, Poland, brought them in because they needed people working in the factories. But what they really needed were people to be in their army 6 years from now. So they get all these kids who've just been traumatized by being attacked by Russia. They're going to have, about 400,000 young children who are ready to kill anyone that Poland, because Poland's, they're not just putting them in a camp. Poland's like putting them in homes and putting them in houses with other Polish people who are being really nice to them and feeding them, and they're getting to go to school and have jobs. And they weren't that way when the Syrians were trying to get in there. So if you don't realize that we live in a unipolar world, that Mr. Global only runs everything, and that, good, if you think you have, I mean, look at England, right? Supposed to be a democracy, a constitutional monarchy that's a democracy, right? They can say whatever they want. Some little girl has a sign saying, I don't like the monarchy. They arrested her. Some guy, on the street, as Charlie drives by, goes, "Who voted for him?" He gets arrested. Mm. Hail Hydra, baby. Go watch V for Vendetta. We're already there. If you get your mask and cape um, delivered to you by Jeffy Bezos, put it on and hit the streets, kids. And so remember, this is just comedy relief. I'm just a little more verklempt, um, you know, stream of consciousness version of Jimmy Dore. You know, but Jimmy Dore, I love Jimmy, and you should go watch him. But realize pretty much anybody but me has an agenda. Me, I don't care. you know, I'm I'm so old that I've been around long enough. 1972, right? I went to a conference um, put on by the Rockefeller Foundation in the Rockefeller Foundation facility in New York City, right next to the UN. And I was in an NGO called Alternative Technology. So we were there. And this conference, I don't know why, but they did. They let me in, and they were talking about alternative three, right? And they realized, I mean, Plato understood this. I mean, in the Bible, the big wave, the flood, woo, it was what happened was the poles switched. And when that happens and you're on a planet that's pretty much water, that's a big bathtub that goes wee, right? So good old Edgar Casey said that this was going to happen sometime between 1997 and 2035, and here we are coming up towards 35. So there are volcanoes that are erupting at either ends of if you drew a straight line between them, they're erupting right now. And the geomagnetic poles of the planet are moving so much that the institute that's supposed to be in charge of telling airlines and people who need to know where the geopoles are so they can navigate can't do that. Haven't been able to do that for the last 4 or 5 years. They can kind of say, well, it's kind of around here. So, and don't believe a word I say. This is just for entertainment's sake. Anybody want to get a hold of me, they can at the Dude Awake um, 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Right. So, oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Um, what else can I say? So, you know, Mikhail Gorbachev died, and you have to hand it to him. He at least put up nuclear war by 50 years, right? And Putin, this is Pootie Pie's war. It's the war of the Vlads, and it's either. And I keep telling people who believe they know what they're talking about. I say, this is the war of the Vlads. What do you mean, war of the Vlads? I said, well, Vladimir Putin and the guy in Ukraine, his name is Vladimir too, just kind of pronounced a little different in Ukraine. And basically the same people, right? And back when Joe Stalin was president in the 20s or so, he went in there and killed somewhere between 6 and 20 million Ukrainians, and then put Russians in there, and that's why uh, um, Vlad keeps talking about PewDiePie keeps talking about the Russian people in Donbass. No, they're Ukrainian. They're not happy, and the fact that Vlad took 1.6 million Ukrainians into Russia, 600,000 of them being children. That wasn't a good idea, because basically what he is, having done is he has taken the enemy into his own country. Yes, they're old, they're women, they're kids, right? They're like traumatized, and but in a year or two they're going to be pretty pissed off. And those kids grow up at 600,000, they're going to be inside the Russian institutional structure, and they're going to destroy it from the inside out. Now, if this isn't reading a scripture that allows Russia to be destroyed completely, so it can be turned into Disneyland for the Western unipolar motif. And you got to realize that it's not the West. America isn't in charge. England, the reptiles aren't even in charge. This is a unipolar entity, Hail Hydra, right? It's transnational, and it's been around before Babylon. Before The reason the Tower of Babylon fell is that the powers that be didn't want the mud puppets to see what was going on. I mean, the Tower of Babylon was just a metaphor for understanding. And every time the mud puppets get close to understanding, some catastrophic thing happens, like the Dark Ages or the plagues. If you think 19 was scary, how about having 19 plus you know what's that really nasty one where you really die quick and miserably and blood comes out of all your holes? Um, I mean, there are so many viruses out there that can be really, whee, and we have gone into so many um, habitats where we shouldn't go there. And there's so much shit on our planet that goes bump in the night. Yesterday's show, I was telling the story of when FARC, the guys who were in charge of pipelines and power lines and distribution of energy, had a hearing about the Mountain Valley pipelines, right? And basically, it was, not the kind of hearing where you have everyone in a big room screaming and yelling and the judges up there and people making speeches for the TV. No, they had everyone in a big room, and then they had people who wanted to make a statement sign a piece of paper, and then they called the names, and then they took them into an interrogation room, which they had brought with them. And basically, you had the person sign a piece of paper that saying, if you lie at all, you're going to jail for 30 years, right? And so most people just walked out of the room without saying anything. And that was 5, 6 years ago. And I've been watching this same kind of hidden hand skullduggery going on for the last 60 years. And I work for these morons, right? Because one of my great teachers said, Al, you're going to have an interesting life. And we were studying Chinese history, and I said, Since it doesn't mean it's going to be trials and tribulations for me. I said, oh yeah, but it's got to be loads of fun. Because you can't help but tell the truth. You can't lie. You don't lie. You don't even fib. You don't care. You just want to know, and you want to help people. You're there to help people. You're not there for yourself. You're not there for you're right in the middle where you could make millions of dollars and you don't. You just help people, you know? And that's what this show is about. I'm here to help, right? And here to have a good time, here to show you how to be happy, right? I'm out in the middle of the woods, basically a homeless guy living in the woods, sleeping in a hammock, and winter's coming, but this is the mountains. I was telling somebody earlier today, um, in the mountains, I'm above 3,000 feet, so when it was down in the valley and was in the 90s, it didn't get above 80 here. And in the evenings, it was, in the low 60s. Last few nights, it's been in the 50s. Next week, it'll be in the 40s. But it won't go any in the wintertime. It doesn't really. It's somewhere between 35 and 42, night and day. Except when a front comes through, then in the winter, maybe 20 days, I can have weather where it's 20 degrees. And it's like, 20 degrees in the man cave, too. So it's a little nippy. But that's when I wear about 7 pair of long johns and coats and gloves and hats and scarves. And it's okay. you know. And if it's not, I'll be dead, you know. And if I die, it's only because I have accomplished what I was sent here to do. Because the last time I really died, they sent me back. Took me 7 years to crawl back. Let's see. I brought pictures, some new pictures. So, uh, let's see. I have some good ones. So here's me. Yeah, that's a good picture. And I'm not even my fattest in this picture, right? Come on. Get out of here. Out. Buzzy. Go. Scat. So I'm about 320 pounds in this picture. I got to be 460 when I died. Right? So out. Out. Out, I say. There's nothing here for you, Buzzy. So, and this picture is like, what are these pictures of? Oh, my family. Right? Here's my sister's kids. You let's see. So here's the last job I was a contractor. I built a old folks home, right? And I was just the electrician supervisor. The contracting company, they were from Missouri or something, and they got a company to do it. But the guy who was supposed to be there running the job, he a never did a job like this, and B, here we're putting the steel in, and B, you know, he basically killed himself. So here is up in the right there between West Virginia and North Carolina and Tennessee in the um, Blue Ridge Mountains, and this is up near Floyd, Virginia, right, where we did the Floyd Fest. And now this is actually in West Virginia, and they were going to build a highway through here. And the federal government sent me up because they wanted to make sure that the people weren't going to get upset and go native on the folk. It's like the negotiator. Done that 3 different times. I'm a good negotiator because I listen, and I really don't. have an agenda. So this was really a pretty place. I enjoyed being up here for the 6 or so months I was here, and I was like, I really had. They gave me, this is when I took my school bus up here. I don't know if you can see this picture, and I had, I just parked it right up there, and it was in the national forest, and I had this nice little certificate from the federal government to tell the Forest Service people. I mean, I went and talked to the Forest Service people first. I mean, they knew I was up there, and this was, kind of land that was, it was national forest, but it had been, a place where people lived, and so, you know, it wasn't like the deep, it wasn't like even like this where I live. So this is a, chemtrails, you know, and what was really interesting about this was that here's chemtrails, and these were all lines, and then they feathered out to be, oh, those are just clouds, and then it started raining chemicals. So here's some pictures of a house I built. Here's the master bathroom. Oh, here we go. So this, and here, this one was chemicals that fell out of the sky. And it was like 60 degrees. It wasn't like really cold. I mean, it was the fall. It was probably October, November, but it was still 60 degrees. And this crap fell out in glops. So, guys, this has been going on for this is oh in the 1990s, those pictures are from. And you know, here we are, 2000, and it'll be 2023 soon. Here's my Kiss World Tour. I did I did a couple of shows for these guys. I was sent to do their electrics. So anyway, so I've had a great life. Artist, social activist, you know, itinerant scholar, lover of everything, and and a lucky bastard. And I'm known as Al Bob. Bob is a synonym for a lucky bastard. Bob is, that's who I'm working for. And so I don't like using the term God because if you take it all the way back into Sumerian, it speaks to this, character called Gob, Gob, and because they couldn't tell, it was just a gob. He was like a turd. They should have called him turd, but and so they couldn't quite tell what it was, but they realized that it was some kind of higher form of life because he could, make them do whatever he wanted. It wanted it to do, and it was all about gold, and the golden rule came from Gob, and so that's why I'm not a big fan. So that's my whole thing is the maker of the universe is love's co-creation. Without that, everything's illusion. It's just ego's illusion, right? And so pretty much anything that's real is love's co-creation, right? There's a universal law about that nothing can be made from nothing. And the only thing that is love. So yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. Love's co-creation, right? So anyone say anything here? Anyone talking? Yeah, there's Fish. Hey, Fish. Fish. So are we going to have a, railroad strike? What do you think? I'm going to call you. Let's see. What time is it anyway? Let's see. What's 3:50? I'm going to get off the show here because I'm going to talk to you. So I'm going to call you. So I'm going to get back to you guys later this afternoon. This is like the promotion version of the show, right? And I'm probably going to use my phone because it's a lot easier, right? I have no idea if I'm blocking the mic or what I'm doing. So okay, I'm gonna call you, Fish, in a few seconds. I'm gonna get out of here. Boop-a-doop-a-doo, boop-a-doo.